Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer in that order. Welcome everyone to this week's regular rollers. Before we get rolling, I'm going to mention that this week's list is brought to you by Greg Morris Cards. More on them coming up in just a bit. We'll start off with one from our Run Over by a Truck division and beyond. This was sent in by John's Cards, who wrote, the seller's description is honest. 1968 Topps Nolan Ryan. Card is real and authentic, has surface damage on the front and back, has corner damage on all corners, has a rip on the top right of the card. Card has creases. Yeah, I guess that's honest. You could also say it looks like it's been run over by a truck multiple times. Another way to describe this one. For anyone wondering what a Nolan Ryan rookie that looks like it's been run over by a truck multiple times would go for, it went for $113 in auction. This was sent in by Chris, who wrote, I found this Kyle Schwarber card, 2016 card for $14. The card is numbered to 199, contains a patch with a Cubs pinstripe, and is from Schwarber's rookie year. This is all great and worth way more than $14 to me, but what makes it extra special is the game the patch is from. The card contains a certification sticker that can be linked to a 9-2 Cubs win versus the Brewers on August 13th, 2015. Schwarber went 3 for 4 with 2 homers and 4 RBIs in the game. The cherry on top, I'm a Phillies fan and Schwarber is dominating, helping the Phillies stay afloat while Harper recovers from surgery. This is my first card of his. Yeah, very cool, and I've mentioned a few times on the regular rollers, the patches today are often just really vague, and bogus, and they're not actually game-worn patches. They're just, a player worn it during an event for 30 seconds, or, it says this patch is not from any specific game or play, all these very vague statements. Well, here's an exception, Topps Tribute Stamp of Approval Relics. They actually put this little sticker on the patch, and it has a number, and you can tie that number to the actual game that patch is from, and I think that's really cool. And here's an example that patch is from August 13th, 2015. And I hope the companies do more of this. I think this is much more legit in my view than this is not from any specific game or event. Next one was sent in by Matt, who wrote, was able to grab this 1956 Emlyn Tunnel card for $6.50 as a best offer. Obviously, the card is off center and doesn't have the cleanest of corners, but for that cheap, it feels like a steal. Not a Giants fan, but Tunnel is a pretty significant person in NFL history. He's the first African-American player to be voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he was also the first person to be inducted who strictly played defensive back. He was named to the 1950s All-Decade team and was ranked in the Sporting News Top 100 Players of All Time at number 70. He was also regarded as a hero during his military service for saving multiple other soldiers during a torpedo attack in 1944. Yeah, I mean, totally agree. Love this sort of purchase. $7, $10, whatever it is, all in for a Hall of Famer ranked that high with that significance. And this looks like a solid mid-grade card from the 1950s. Yeah, agreed. This was sent by Aiden, who's got a nice little flip story for us. He said, I bought this 88-89 OPC hockey cards on Poshmark, which is a buy-sell app geared mainly towards clothing. Paid a little over 17 Canadian dollars total. Obviously, the 2 Brett Hull rookies are clearly visible, but if you look closely at the second picture, a third is visible in the top row towards the left. When the cards arrived, there were actually 4 Brett Hull rookie cards as well as a good handful of other cards that had some small value, Lemieux, Turgeon. I listed a few lots of lower value cards and made my initial investment back in about a week. I then listed the 4 Hull rookies as a lot on eBay, and to my surprise and delight, the auction sold for $102.50. They've been delivered and the buyer's happy with the purchase. Interestingly, as far as I know, this is Brett Hull's only rookie. The Topps and the OPC, but those are the same. I did consider keeping one of these and having it graded, but I tried to hold 9s at a minimum and wasn't 100% sure that these would get a 9. Yeah, congrats on that flip. That's quite a nice one. $17 for the entire lot and sold just the 4 Hull cards for over $100. Well done. This was sent in by Nate the Great, who wrote, I bought this yesterday and feel it's a great deal. It has an ST qualifier, which I assume is a gum or wax stain. Can't make out anything in the pictures. I don't mind a qualifier if I can get a vintage Hall of Famer in high grade for $18 all in. It's an 8 with a stain, not a 6 in my opinion. Yeah, this is one of those buy the card, not the grade situations. 8 with a stain qualifier, you would usually, maybe you'd consider this more like a 6, but this is about what a PSA 6 would go for, about $15 to $20 or so all in. And PSA 8s go for about $40. And looking over the picture, I mean, I agree with you. I don't see any stain anywhere on the front nor on the back. Now, there could very well be one that the picture's just not picking up. But card certainly looks, very, very sharp and sort of like a standard 8 quality. So, buy the card, not the grade. I think this is a good example of that. This was sent in by Charles, who wrote, is it common for PSA DNA to label an autograph as Gem Mint 10 opposed to just Auto 10? This makes the card seem like it has been graded a 10, which it obviously is not a Gem Mint card. And why is the card labeled Trading Card opposed to 86 Fleer? I've never seen that before. It almost made me wonder if the card was a fake, but I assume PSA wouldn't slab a fake card even with a real auto. Yeah, I think I've mentioned this a few times, although it's been a while. The PSA DNA label is so confusing, and it's quite baffling because it's, Beckett, for example, does it really, really well. So does SGC. It's very clear. You got two grades, very clear what's going on, and there's not confusing when you look at it. With the PSA label, it's DNA label. It's often very confusing. I mean, if you look at this, you would think the card is a Gem Mint 10, and maybe the auto is authentic. It's not really clear, but what's happened here is whoever submitted this card only wanted the autograph graded. They didn't even want the card itself authenticated. So PSA just is calling it a trading card and authenticating the auto as a Gem Mint 10 auto. If this was a fake card, it would be the same. If it was an original card, it would be the same label because but they're not authenticating the card. So it's just a little weird. Now, Probstein is the one listing it here, and they did say it's an 86 Fleer in the listing. So I'm assuming it's original, but PSA is not saying that. I assume Probstein is saying that it's original. But yeah, I agree. This is just way, way too confusing, and in my opinion, one of the things that PSA needs to fix, especially because it's not a difficult fix. I mean, there's very clear-cut examples of grading companies and ways to do it, where it's very, very clear what's going on with the grade of the card and the autograph, and it's not confusing in any way. This one sent in by Grant Darnell. He wrote, Jimmy Garoppolo was a couple plays away from making the Super Bowl last year as a quarterback for the Niners. Trey Lance has been named the starter, and we all know his card prices are very high. Meanwhile, Jimmy G's cards are discounted right now. If Trey Lance has a slow start or gets hurt, the team will be Jimmy G's once again. Or a year from now, Jimmy G will be a valued free agent with the ability to go start for another team. I think he's a great player to invest in. I bid on his 2014 Topps Chrome Green Refractor SGC 8. It's not a valuable card, as raw copies can be had for around $15, but I won the auction for just $2.80, all in for about $8. Planning on holding this card to see if Jimmy starts this year or is a free agent for a new team next year. Won't make me a millionaire, but no risk, some reward for this card. Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. If I were to invest in sort of players this season, it would be in a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo here, not because I think he's great or he's amazing, but because there's just a lot more upside versus downside. You got his green refractor rookie in an SGC 8 here for $3. What's the downside? Upside is Trey Lance gets hurt or plays real bad. Jimmy G goes in there, has a great season, and a card like this could really, really go up in value. So I like the upside versus downside on cards like this. Next up is a card I would call sort of an under-the-radar card. 1999 Topps CC Sabathia rookie. Sabathia is probably going to make the Hall of Fame. Maybe not his first try, but his numbers are good enough such that he will probably eventually get in. And a nice thing about many players whose rookie cards are in like the late 90s, including Sabathia here, is that he doesn't have very many rookie cards. There were tons of brands back then, but Topps had some sort of monopoly on prospects or minor league cards, not exactly sure, but all his rookie cards are Topps brands, and he has a Topps Chrome, a Finest, a Bowman Chrome. I think that might be it. This is his flagship Topps rookie, and while it's not a rare card, I think it's a really good deal at $10. This card was sold through Greg Morris Cards, who, as I mentioned, is sponsoring this episode. Raw Vintage is their bread and butter, but they have a wide selection of modern cards and such as the Sabathia and graded cards as well. Highly respected company in the industry, immaculate feedback. I use them personally both to buy and sell regularly. Check out their website and inventory. I've included a link to them in the description below. Next card was sent in by Moritz, and it's a 1992 Panini tennis sticker Pete Sampras. He wrote, technically it's not his rookie as he has a Net Pro card produced the year before, but this one has a beautiful image, and from what I could find online, it's a lot rarer. As I mentioned, it's a European product. It's a beautiful image of an all-time great, a player who's considered top 5 of all time. He won 14 Grand Slam titles and was a world number 1 for 286 weeks. And I grew up watching as a kid. I was still into tennis a bit then. I remember always seeing Wimbledon on the big tournaments in my grandmother's living room. Unfortunately, she left way too soon. But this is a nice memory of that time, and considering how a PSA 9 recently sold for $480, according to the Pop Report, it's also an item that could age well financially. This was sent in by Jared, who wrote, I thought this was a sweet pickup for my PC. It's an on-card auto of a defenseman that's in the same conversation as Bobby Orr for NHL GOAT defenseman. For $33, it's a win. Plus, Detroit has a large fan base, which is an added bonus. Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about hockey. I mean, I've done some research for some of my videos, and I follow a little bit, but not much. But every time I look at sort of all-time lists, Nicholas Lindstrom is a name that is always much, much higher than I would have thought. And if you look at like top defensemen of all time, he's always in the top 5, and there's even lists that put him at number 1. which is pretty incredible in the same, yeah, like you said, alongside like players like Bobby Orr, whose cards are insanely valued, whereas Nicholas Lindstrom cards are not very expensive at all. I mean, you can pick up his rookies, they're junk wax era stuff, but you can pick up his rookies for a couple bucks, and yeah, you can pick up an on-card auto here from 2008 for $33. I mean, that's probably sort of market rate, but just given how high he ranks on these lists, that seems like a good deal to me. This was sent by Matthew, who wrote, "Some guy is selling a card that is described as fan art. However, that art is made to look like a $1,200 Mac Jones Color Blast. Not difficult to think someone could make the mistake and throw their money away." Yeah, when I saw this, I'm not really sure what the rules are or what the law is, I guess. I mean, you're allowed to make fan art. You're allowed to make like a painting of your favorite player and then sell that. But I don't know where the line is. Like, are you allowed to use the team logo of the NFL? Are you allowed to use the NFL logo like they've done here on the back of the card? Are you allowed to make it clearly look like a super valuable football card? I'm not really sure. I would have guessed not, but that's clearly what's been done here. And it's listed as Color Blast in the title of eBay, which I think that's definitely, I think that would definitely not be allowed. That's clearly misleading, because Color Blast is a very specific, brand of card from Panini. This is not a Color Blast card. It's just made to look like a Color Blast card. $74 is what it went for. Again, this is just a piece of paper that somebody has drawn on. It's a nice piece of art, I guess. But yeah, $74 at least didn't go for the $1,200. And we'll finish on a vintage bargain. This was sent in by Mark Schlossberger, wrote, "This is a 1927 W560 card of Dazzy Vance. It's my second Dazzy card, but my first graded one, and never ceases to be surprised how relatively inexpensive strip cards are from the 1920s. Here's a nearly 100-year-old card of a Hall of Famer and an 8.5 from SGC for just $155. That's about market value, actually, as far as I could tell. But it's a very rare card, at least graded-wise. PSA has graded this card 25 times with only one 8.5 and only one 9. SGC has graded 18 examples with 4 8.5s and 3 9s. So anyway, not the prettiest card out there, but I like having something fairly rare that fits well into my collection. Yeah, totally agree with everything you said. Super rare card. You've got one of the 10 nicest graded copies on the planet, and $155 for a 100-year-old Hall of Fame card. I think that's a good way to spend your money in the hobby. But that's it for this week's regular rollers. Thank you everyone for watching and for all your submissions. I'm all caught up on my submissions, my submission backlog, so feel free to send submissions at will. I'm really enjoying the ones that are from other sites other than eBay. Obviously, regular rollers is heavy with eBay sales, but enjoying seeing some of the sort of oddball sites and some of the other card sites as well. So yeah, feel free to send in those at your leisure. But until next time, have a great day, and see you all again real soon. Thanks, everyone.